The prayer is on page 92 of this book, the Universal Prayers. The second one on that page, page 92. Om Aham prapannosmi padam bhujam prabho bhavapavargam tava yogi bhavitam yathanjasa jnanamaparavarithim sukham tarishyami tatha anushadhimam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Lord, I seek the shelter of thy lotus feet, which yogins ever meditate upon, and which verily severs all shackles that bind man to earth. Do thou show unto me the way by which I may truly cross this shoreless ocean of ignorance with ease. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace everywhere in nature. So let us continue. Last time we just studied the second verse in chapter 13, which is one of the most important verses, and the practical implication it has. The second verse, let me chant again. Om Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yattad jnanam matam mama. O Arjuna, know me. Me means the Lord, Bhagavan himself. Know me to be the Kshetrajna, the indwelling spirit in all kshetras, in all the bodies. I consider real knowledge the knowledge of the field and the Kshetrajna. The knowledge of Kshetra, Kshetrajna, that is true knowledge, what we call Paravidya in the Upanishads. As opposed to that, the knowledge of the world is Aparavidya, with which we are familiar. Paravidya is knowledge of the self, knowledge of Atman, Atmajnana or Brahmajnana. That is the most important knowledge. And the one thing that we have to know is in all the infinite number of bodies in the universe, consider all kinds of bodies, whole creation you can say, inanimate objects, animals, plants, people in here and anywhere else they may exist. In all of them, there is only one indwelling spirit, common. That is Kshetrajna, or the Lord himself as the individual. This we studied in the 7th chapter. 7th chapter, I think it was verse number 7. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Mani means bead. Bead in a necklace. There are large number of beads in a necklace, and through all the beads, only one sutra, one thread passes and holds all the beads together. In the same way, if you take the whole creation, so many different kinds of things are there. All of them are bound together by one common divine presence present in all of them, in all of us. So that is the main point to be noted here in the second verse. One divine presence in all the beings. Whether the beings are aware of his presence or not, that is immaterial. Animals don't know anything about God, but in them also God is present. Similarly, in some people who don't believe in God, in them also God is present. His presence is not dependent upon any condition, whether people believe in his presence or not, Accept it or not, that does not matter. His presence is given. That is one thing to be noted. Second thing is God's presence in all the beings that governs all our relationships, not only with people and animals, plants, and with inanimate objects also. We have to deal with them gently, carefully, nicely. So those things we noted last time. Now we go to the next verse, shloka number 3. Now shloka number 3 and 4, they are by way of introduction to the next topic, Kshetrajna topic, Kshetra topic. Tat kshetram yaccha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu. Here Bhagavan says, this introduces the topic. Listen to me, shrunu means listen to me. Bhagavan is saying to Arjuna, kshetram yat. What is kshetra? Yadrak, what kind of thing it is? Yadrashi, tadrashi, what kind of thing is the kshetra? Yeah, what is its nature? Yad vikari. Vikara means change, transformation. What kind of transformations, changes the kshetra undergoes? We will study that. We already know that all bodies change. They undergo through 6 different changes, all of those changes, plus some more here. Yad vikari, what are the changes that all kshetras undergo? Yatascha yat. Yata means from where the kshetra has come, origin or source of kshetra. The Lord himself is the source of everything that we know earlier. Sachayo yat prabhavascha. Saha ye means the first word in the second line. Saha means kshetrajna. First line describes the kshetra. The questions about kshetra. What is kshetra? What, from where is it come? What are the qualities? That is first line. Second line, sachayo means that kshetrajna. Yaha, who is that kshetrajna? Yat prabhava, what are his powers? Prabhava means power. What are the powers of the kshetrajna? Tat samasena me shrunu. Listen to me to all these things briefly. Samasa means briefly. Samasena shrunu me shrunu. Listen to me briefly about what is kshetra, what are its qualities, what kind of changes it undergoes, what is kshetrajna, and what are kshetrajna's powers, prabhava. All these things Bhagavan is going to explain to Arjuna. That is also shloka number 3, introduction. Now shloka number 4 is also same. In the 4th shloka, Bhagavan emphasizes the importance of this knowledge in order to create interest in the listeners, in Arjuna and in all other people listening to his words like us, to appreciate its importance. Why we should know Kshetra, Kshetrajna. What is the importance of this knowledge? That is explained in verse number 4. Rishibir Bahuda Geetam Chando Pervividai Pratak Brahma Sutra Padais Chaiva Hetu Madhir Vinischitai. This knowledge of Kshetra, Kshetrajna has been sung, eulogized, sung, Geetam, it has been sung. By whom? Rishibhihi, by the great sages of all the sages who have composed the scriptures. The beginning from Upanishads, from the Vedas, which were heard by the original rishis, Vedic rishis, and then other rishis who created the Purana, Vyasa and other people, and other Smriti scriptures. By all of those great sages, the glory of Kshetra, Kshetrajna has been sung, Geetam. Vividaihi, Pratak Vividaihi, Chandobihi. In the Vedas also, the Vedic mantras are called Chandas. Some of the Vedic mantras are Chandas. They have been sung by the Vedic rishis in the hymns in the Vedas, they are called mantras or chandas. Then Brahma Sutra Padaishchaiva in the Brahma Sutras. Earlier we saw there are three great pillars of Vedantic scriptures. Prasthana Trayam, they are called. First is the Upanishads, which is the basis of all knowledge, Vedantic knowledge. Second is the Upanishad, which contains the gist of the Upanishads in simpler language. And third is the Brahma Sutra, which are the logical explanations of the statements made in the Upanishads, composed by Vyasa, Badarayana. There are more than 550 some aphorisms are there, sutras are there. They contain the logical substantiation using robust logic and refuting all other opposing views. Brahma Sutra. In all those scriptures, Brahma Sutra Padaihi, Hetu Madbihi Vinishchitaihi. Hetu means reason or karana or reason. With great reasoning, very powerful logic, Vinishchitai in very definitive words, very certain word, no hesitation, no equivocation, no yes, maybe no like that. Definitely, this is the absolute truth, like that. With great degree of certainty, the rishis have explained their experience, mentioned their experience in the Upanishads. Those have been substantiated with powerful logic by Vyasa Badarayana Rishi in the Brahma Sutras. That is how important this knowledge is. Kshetra, Kshetrajna knowledge. Now we go to one of the most important verses in this chapter, verse number 5. This is where I want us to pay more attention. Mahabhutam nyankaro buddhiravyaktamevacha indriyani dashaikamcha panchachendriya gochara. In this one verse, the 24 cosmic principles of Sankhya have been enumerated. If you remember this one verse, you can remember all the 24 cosmic principles, which Sri Ramakrishna refers to many times in the Gospel. Many times in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna has said, the Divine Mother herself has become the universe and all the 24 cosmic principles and everything. So what are the components, ingredients of this universe, of which things are made? 24 categories, cosmic principles or categories they are called. This is according to Sankhya. Explanation of the visible universe. All explanations are only approximate. True knowledge comes not from explanation but from experience. This explanation helps us to try for the experience, that is all. So let us see what the 24 things are. Mahabhutani, the 5 subtle elements. Mahabhuta means the 5 elements that we are familiar with, that one. These are also called Tanmatras. Tat matra, only that, plural, each is pure. Akasha, space. Vayu, air. Agni or Tejas, heat or energy or warmth. And then Prithvi, Agni, Vayu, Prithvi means matter. Which one I left out? Ahankara, Mahabhuta, Nyahankara. Bhumira, Vayu, come, space. Bhumi, Apa, water, earth and water. Fire or Tejas, air and space. 5 things. These all exist in the original pure nascent state. They are called Tanmatras or Sukshma Bhutas. And they combine among themselves and become Sthula Bhutas, gross elements. And those elements become the ingredients for all other things. We'll study that one. Mahabhutani, 5 elements, subtle elements. Ahankara. Ahankara means the I sense in the kshetra, referring to the body. All of us say, I am this body. That awareness within us, which says, I am this. That is the reflection of the divine, divinity, like the reflection of the sun in the water pot. That ahankara, ego. Mahabhutani ahankara, ego in the individual beings. Ahankara, buddhi, intelligent intellect part, which determines. In all of us, the human beings, there is a faculty called buddhi. Faculty is a function of the mind, antakarana, internal instrument. The function of the buddhi is to determine. Nischayatmika buddhi is like this. It is defined in Vedanta Sara. Nischaya means to determine right from wrong, truth from false. If you see one thing, buddhi determines what that precise thing is, not any other thing like that one. Determinative faculty, determining faculty, buddhi. That buddhi can be sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. That will come in the later chapter, 17, 18 chapter. So we have to cultivate sattvic buddhi. Rajasic buddhi is not good. It's necessary to some extent. Some rajas is necessary for action, but tamasic buddhi is very bad. We'll study those three things. Too much information now will be confusing. So we'll postpone that. Sattvic, rajasic, tamasic buddhi. Buddhi. Mahabhutani, ahankara, buddhi. Three things. Mahabhutani are five. Keep count now. Five subtle elements. Ahankara 6, buddhi 7. Then avyakta. Avyakta came in the 8th chapter. Avyakta means unmanifest. Vyakta means manifest means visible, name and form. Avyakta means no name, no form. It is there but cannot be seen. All things exist in avyakta form in the beginning. Avyakta dine bhutani yakta madhyani bharata. Avyakta nidananyeva tatraka paridevana. Like this we studied earlier. All beings exist in unmanifest form. This is called avyakta. That unmanifest form with no name and form is avyakta. What's an example of an avyakta? A tree existing in a seed. If you take a small seed, if you break it, there's nothing that you can see in this. There's no tree in that seed, but it is there. When you when you sow the seed and with water and air and sunlight, it sprouts and it slowly becomes a sapling in the plant and a tree. The tree was already all the time hidden in the seed, but was not visible to us. It had no name and form. That kind of hidden existence with no name and form is called avyakta. Everything exists in avyakta in the beginning. So Mahabhutani 5, Ahankara 6, Buddhi 7, Avyakta 8. 8 things we have so far. Then next line, Indriyani Dashaikam cha. 10 Indriyas, that we are familiar. 5 Indriyas of perception, Jnanendriyas, eyes, ears, skin, tongue, etc. And 5 Indriyas of action, motor organ, through which action takes place. Hands and feet, etc. 10. Indriyani dasha. Ekam, 11th. One more Indriya is there besides the 10. What is that? The mind itself. Mind itself is another Indriya. It controls the remaining 10 Indriyas, but it's Indriya in itself. By itself, it's an Indriya. So 11. So 5 Mahabhutani, Ahankara Buddhi Avyakta 8, and 11 Indriyas, 19 we have so far. Now 5 more are required. What last 5 are? Panchachendriya Gochara. Gochara means visible. Indriya Gochara means visible to the senses. That means all objects, they are made up of the 5 gross elements. Panchachendriya Gochara means Sthula Bhutani. Sukshma Bhuta, the Tanmatras, the beginning, Mahabhutani. The end, Indriya Gochara means all the objects that we see, including our body. Mind is also an object because I can think about the mind, see the mind. Anything that can be seen or thought about is an object. So all these things are, if you add up, to be 24 cosmic principles. So if you remember this one shloka, then you can remember all the 24 cosmic principles. This is what Sri Ramakrishna refers to in the Gospel so many times. Mahabhutanyahangkaro buddhiravyaktameva cha Indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gochara. These are 24 cosmic principles of the Sankhya philosophy. Of these 24 things, everything is made. That is one explanation of the visible universe. There are many explanations like that. So why this information is given here is, all these are objects, not the Atman. All these 24 things are all objects separate from the self. I am separate. Atman is separate. That's the main thing to be noted. These are all the anatma. That means non-self things. Everything we see here, touch, taste, and smell, they're all objects. And separate from the object is subject, which is self. That is what we truly are, that we have to know. These are things to be seen, things that are seen, but these are objects, not the self. These are not the self. That's distinction we have to make. That's called Viveka. You heard about Viveka, discrimination between real and unreal. All this comes under the domain of unreal, because everything here changes. What kind of changes these 24 things undergo? They are explained in this next verse, verse number 6. They undergo 7 kind of changes, or they have 7 qualities. You can say qualities. 7 qualities the Kshetra has. The qualities of Kshetra are described in verse number 6. We go to verse number 6 now. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghataschetana dhritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. Udahritam means has been explained. Ichha, the 7 properties of the Kshetra, 7 qualities of the Kshetra are explained in verse number 6. Ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, sanghataha, chetana, dhritihi. 7 things are listed there. Etat kshetram, all of these things are kshetra, are properties of the Kshetra. Samasena, briefly. Savikaram, along with the changes. Udahratam has been explained. So what are the changes? Icha, changes means properties here. Desire. All human beings, animals also have desire. Icha. Desire means what? We studied desire before in 2nd chapter, verses 60 to 63. What is desire? Desire means a feeling of incompleteness, not knowing our perfect, sampurna, perfect nature. By nature, we are perfect, infinite. We are divinity itself. By nature, inherently, we are that. We are not aware of that. Because we are not aware of our perfect, complete nature, we are aware of imperfections. I don't have this. If I have this, I'll become better. My life will become fuller and I'll be happy. That feeling of gap or emptiness in us is desire. It may be money, it may be a job, it may be a child, it may be a spouse, it may be a house, it may be anything that I don't have. And if I have that one, that missing thing is, if it is given to me, then my life will be fuller, better, happier. That state of mind is called desire. Why the desire comes? Because I don't know that I have everything already. I'm perfect. Nothing can be added to infinity. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. I am that Brahman. Anantam is I'm already infinite. How can you add anything to how can something be missing from the infinite? It's infinite. Everything is there. But absence of that knowledge is what makes us think you are incomplete. That absence of our true knowledge, true self, knowledge of the true self, is what makes us unhappy, incomplete. I don't have this one. Whatever it is, and if that is supplied, I'll be happy. I don't. Everybody else has it. I don't have it. That feeling of incompleteness is due to ignorance of our perfect nature. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, that I am. I don't know that one. This problem with desire is incompleteness, ignorance. Ichha, dveshaha, dislike. Some things we like, something we don't like. Because we see things outside of us. All the 24 things we see outside of us. I'm not them. I'm not the Mahabhutas, I'm not the Ahankara, I'm not the Chitta, I'm not the mind, I'm not the sense organs. They're all away, apart from me, separate from me. And objects, all the Indriya Gocharaha, the last one in the previous verse, all the subjects, all the objects, Indriya Gochara, seen by the sense organs. We see something, we hear something. All the objects, some of them I like, some of them I don't like. Some people like, some people I don't like. Some food I like, some food I don't like. That called dvesha, raga dvesha. Ichha dvesha, sukham dukkham. That is familiar. Does not need much explanation. We all have sukha dukkha. We know what is sukha, what is dukkha. That is happiness and happiness. The pleasure and pain. That we are familiar with that one. We all experience that one. Sanghataha. Sanghata means conglomeration, a collection of things. Sanghata. This kshetra, if you take the human body as an example of kshetra, it's not one thing. It is a collection of many different things, like a automobile. Thousands of parts are there in a car. They're all made separately in different places, assembled together, thousands of parts. Like this body is also made of thousands of parts. So many different muscles are there, nerves are there, bones are there, other parts of the body are there. Not one, it's a collection of many different things. Such a collection of many different things is called Sanghata. What is the problem with being a Sanghata? Anything that is a collection, Sanghata, made up of different parts, is sure to disintegrate into its components sooner or later. This will happen. That's what will happen to all the kshetras, all the bodies. Whether you think of animal body, plant body, or even the sun, it will fall apart into and disintegrate into its component parts. It wants the Sanghata will not stay as it is for a long time. Anything that's a collection of more than one thing is going to separate into its components. So the body is a temporary thing. That's what we have to carry from this. The message we have to carry from this shloka is all these things we are studying, whole kshetra is all temporary, subject to change. Every moment it is changing, we have to accept it. You can stop the change. Everything is going to change. Whole world is changing. That is why it's called Jagat. Whole world is changing and everything in the world is changing. Every moment. Sometimes you notice the change, it is slowly happening, you notice the change. Sometimes change happens suddenly. But change everything. Everything changes. So that is what we have to understand, not be attached to that. If something is changing, that means it will go out of existence sooner or later, body also. So what's the message, lesson behind this one? No attachment to any of these things. This is what we have to learn from this kshetra. Everything is coming and going, everything is changing, everything is made up of parts, it will disintegrate sooner or later. So that's not us. I am Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Brahma. There's no change, infinite, eternal, and changing. That I am, not this body mind. Whatever happens to body mind, I should not be too much worried about it. That's what we have to understand from these two slokas. Sukham Dukkham Sanghata Chetana. Chetana means awareness or consciousness. There is consciousness in the body, otherwise it could not be functioning at all. By nature, the body, kshetra, is inert, made of material, but seems to be alive and functioning, doing things, speaking, talking, enjoying, laughing, crying. So what makes the body look alive, vivifies the body, is the presence of consciousness. Divine consciousness is present in us all. That's why we are able to function by the power of God present in us all. The divine presence present within us, awareness, consciousness within us, that is Chetana, Sangatas Chetana, Dhritihi. Dhriti means steadiness or the ability to remain connected as one thing. Many things remain connected, functioning as one thing. Dhriti here means where is Dhriti? Icha dvesha sukam dukha hetuna sangatayam tasmin mihi dhriti. Dhriti yaya avasadam praptani dehendriyani dhriyante sa cha jnayatvat kshetram. Dhriti means the ability for all these numerous components of the body to stay together and function as one. That power that holds us all together, hold all the components of the body together and makes it function as one body. All the different things are doing. The eyes are seeing, ears are hearing, mind is thinking, feet are moving. So all these different things are doing their function as if they are one unit. The thing, that power that holds everything together, makes it function as one entity. The dhriti, holding power. Idam is the field. Awareness, sustentation is called in English, by which are upheld the depleted body and senses, also being knowable, is a field. That's also a part of the field. Sangati Chetana Dhritihi. All these 7 things listed in the first line. Icha, Dveshaha, Sukham, Dukkham 4, Sangata 5, Chetana 6, Dhriti 7. These are all properties of the Kshetra, of the body, of all bodies. Even the body of an animal or a plant is made up of different parts. All the parts are held together and they function together for some time. Then they will fall apart and they will end their existence. That is the fate of all kshetras. So what is the message behind this one? Is all of these are objects separate from us. I'm none of these. I'm not the kshetra. I'm not the Icha, Dvesha, Sukha. Those are all quality. They come and go. They change. I'm none of those. Then what am I? Aham Brahmasmi Upanishad says, I am that divine self. But devotees don't like to say I am Brahmasmi. We want to be separate from God. Jnanis say I am Brahman. That is their path. I'm not the body, I'm Brahman, Jnanis say. But for ordinary people, that it is hard for me to say I'm Brahman because I have very strong body consciousness I have. So what is the way for us? I know I'm not the body, but I cannot say I'm Brahman. I'm in between. So the way for us is shown by Sri Ramakrishna. He says, keep the ego as a ripe ego. Ripe, not unripe ego. Kacha ami, paka abi. In Bengali, he said. Kacha means unripe, kacha. Paka means pakka, ripe. What's the difference? Unripe ego says, I am such and such a person. I'm so important. I have all this money, property, knowledge. I'm so great. Everybody should respect me. That is unripe ego. Ripe ego means ego will be there. It cannot go away easily. Let ego be there. But let it become ripe. What is ripe ego? Ripe ego means I'm a child of God. I'm a devotee of God. I'm a servant of God. This way, I is there. Ankara is there. But it is made refined. It's refined pakka ani. That can stay there. For bhaktas, we should keep the ego. We can't say I'm Brahman. You can say I'm a child of God, I'm a devotee to God, I'm a servant of God. That is safe. The difference between ripe ego and unripe ego is ego is like a stick in a water. If there is a lake or something, or even a part of water, if there is a stick in it, the stick seems to divide the water into two parts. There is no division, but sticks make it look like two different parts of water. That is unripe ego. Ripe ego is like a line drawn on the water. It is still there. That line does not really divide the water. It is there, but it disappears. So, like the line drawn on the water, ripe ego is there, but it does not create any harm to us. Let it be there. So, all of these things, 24 things listed in the sloka number 5, and the 7 properties listed in sloka number 6, they're all parts of the kshetra, they're all objects, not me. They're separate from me. I am the subject, I am the Atma. The distinction is called Viveka, Atma, Anatma, Vichara, which is real, unreal. That knowledge is derived from this one, from these two slokas. Etat kshetram samasena savikaram udahritam. This sloka number 6, second line. Samasena, briefly, etat kshetram savikaram, along with its changes, udahritam has been explained. So now we know what are the 24 cosmic principles, and we also know they're all objects, not me. I'm the self. The separation we have to know. Distinction we have to know. Now, sloka number 7. Sloka number 7. We come to the very important segment in 13th chapter now, 7 to 11. These 5 slokas number 7 to 11, they constitute one group of slokas in chapter 13. We have to study this group of 5 slokas very carefully. This is a list of 19 or 20 qualities, virtues. See, Krishna is fond of making lists. He gave a list on the 2nd chapter. What list he gave in 2nd chapter? List of qualities of a Sthita Prajna. Long list beginning from sloka 55 until 71, 72. Arjuna asked the question, what are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna? In verse number 54, 2nd chapter, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava. Like this, Arjuna asked a question. What are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna? Sthita Prajna means a person of steady wisdom, whose wisdom, whose awareness is firmly fixed in the Atman, such a person, Atma Jnani. What are the qualities? In response, Sri Krishna gives a very long list, beginning from verse number 55. Prajahate yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochate. Like this until end of the chapter, second chapter. That was one list. And smaller lists come everywhere. Now we are getting another list here in 13th chapter, 7 to 11. In 14th chapter, we get a short list again. Like this in many places in the Gita, Sri Krishna gives lists of things. Where else did we find one list recently? Chapter number 12. In the previous chapter which we studied, there is another list of devotees, qualities of a devotees, from verse 13 to 19. Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Maitra Karuna Evacha. That list of qualities of a devotee we study in 12th chapter. Now here is another list, very important. So let us begin this study of this list of qualities of a Jnani. What are the qualities? These are given here for one important reason. 2 reasons are there. Important reason why this list is given here, list of 19, 20 things given here is, all of us must practice these virtues. That is main reason. The other reason is to identify a jnani. If somebody has all these qualities, then we can recognize such a person and emulate such a person, seek holy company in such a person. But main use of this list is for each one of us to practice these virtues as many as possible, beginning from now. Very important purpose why the list is given here. So let us study this list. Verse number 7. Amanitva madam dhritvam ahimsa kshamtirarjavam acharyopasanam saucham stairyam atmavinigraha. 9 things are given here in 2 lines. 9 virtues are given. Let us see one by one. First is amanitvam. Mana means respect. Manitvam means demanding respect. I am such a great person. Everybody should respect me. Everybody should stand up when I come and enter the room. Like this, some people have a feeling of self-importance. They are very much aware of their own virtues and then their property, possession, power, etc. They are aware of it. That is not good for a devotee or for a jnani. Amanitvam, opposite of that. You should not feel that I am the most important person. So here it is defined in the commentary. Shankara defines amanitvam in this way. Maninaha bhavaha manitvam atmanaha shlaganam. Praising oneself. Shlaganam is praising oneself. Tadabhava, absence of that. You should be humble, humility. Amanitvam means humility. Amanitvam. Pride is the quality of a conceited, boastful person, brags about oneself. Humility is absence of that one. You should be humble. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, I request you to read later when you have time, page 210 in the English New York edition of the Gospel. Very nice incident, small incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Why I'm saying this? Because Sri Ramakrishna was a personification of humility himself. He never bragged about his own knowledge or devotion or virtue or anything. Always humble. That is shown in one incident in Surendra Mitra's home. Sri Ramakrishna used to go to different devotees' homes in Calcutta for satsang very often. So one day he went to the Surendra Mitra's home for satsang. Many people had gathered there, and the host had prepared a very special seat for Sri Ramakrishna. A special seat had carpets and everything, and that had also bolsters. Bolsters mean a long cylindrical pillow that to recline again, like for comfort. So when Sri Ramakrishna saw the special asana made for him, everybody is sitting on the floor or on the carpet. But for him, special asana was made with all these other things. So he rejected. He said, I'm not going to sit on that one. This is not for me. And he said, this is the line I want us to remember on page 210 in the Gospel. He said, as for me, I consider myself as a speck of the dust of the devotee's feet. When he was asked to sit down on that very special asana, embellished, made nicely, he refused. He said, I am like everybody else. What is special? I don't want a special seat. He said, as for me, I consider myself as a speck of the dust of the devotee's feet. Padadhuli Renu. That's how humble he was. Instead of saying I should be given a special asana better than everybody else's, humility. That kind of humility is amanitvam that we have to cultivate. Another example in Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's life. Now he used to sit down on the floor and eat like everybody else. Those days there was no furniture, no table, chair, dining table, no such thing. So one day he was eating lunch on a leaf plate, in Ramanashrama in Tiruvannamalai. And the people who were serving the food, they brought in a bucket pieces of mango. Somebody given mango, a lot of pieces were cut and put in a bucket, and he was putting one piece in everybody's plate. That man was serving the mango pieces. When he came to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's plate, he put a bigger piece on his plate. And then for everybody else, he put a smaller pieces. Bhagavan noted that one. He called that man and said, no, this is not right. Either give the same size as big piece to everybody or give me like small piece like you gave to everybody else. He refused to take a bigger piece like everybody else. What is special? That humility must be there. That's called amanitvam. Amanitvam, that virtue we all have to cultivate. It's not a difficult thing to cultivate. On another occasion in the Gospel, it's on page 600. In the Gospel, there was a person named Nilakanta. Nilakanta was talking to Sri Ramakrishna, and Nilakanta says to Sri Ramakrishna, I quote, you are none other than Gauranga. Gauranga means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the Nilakanta says to Sri Ramakrishna, you are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu yourself, like that he said. Sri Ramakrishna didn't accept it. He said, why should you say such a thing? I am the servant of all. The waves belong to the Ganges, but does the Ganges belong to the waves? Sri Ramakrishna would not accept that compliment. He said, why should you say such a thing? I am the servant of all. Dasanu dasa. That is humility. So we have to practice humility. Amanitvam, first virtue. Many more virtues are there. 19, 20 virtues are there in this list. First one is this one. Also, this has come before. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed a very nice hymn. Many of you know that one. What is it called? Shikshashtakam. Shiksha means instruction. Ashtaka means hymn containing 8 stanzas. In that Shikshashtakam, this is one of the stanzas. How a devotee should practice humility when praying to God. Devotee should not be proud of, I have so much devotion to God, I pray to God so many times, 5 times every day, I do so much japa. That pride should not be there. Humble, humility. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in that Shikshashtakam. Trunadapi sunicena taraurapi sahishnuna amanina amanadena kirtaniya sada hari. Sada hari kirtaniya. Always. Sada means always. Hari means the Lord, God. Any name. Hari, Rama, Krishna, Durga, whatever you like. Sada hari kirtaniya. One day. Hari should be praised. His glory must be praised at all times. All the time we should think about God and His glories. How we should think about God? 3 qualities are given here by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this shloka. First is Trunadapi sunicena. Truna means a blade of grass. Blade of grass is often mentioned as a symbol of humility. When a strong, powerful wind blows, the grass bows down and the wind blows over it. When the wind is over, it stands up again, bows down its head, the blade of grass. When a lot of rain falls, again it will go down, and then when the rain stops, it will stand up, like that one. But a powerful tree, big tree, when the powerful wind blows, it cannot bend, it will stay straight, and it will be uprooted by the wind. So humility is good. Trunadapi sunicena, humbler than a blade of grass. Taraurapi sahishnuna. Taru means a tree. A tree is another quality, virtue, is saishnuta. Saishnuta means forbearance. Whatever happens, the tree remains there throughout the year. In summer, very hot, In winter, very cold. In snow, it is very cold. All leaves fall away. And there is no sunlight. So much rain falls. Rain or shine or snow or heat or cold. The tree remains there, forbearing everything throughout the year, supplying oxygen to the living beings and other products, fruits and whatever flowers, whatever the tree gives. Symbol of Saishnuta, forbearance. Whatever happens, forbear without complaining. Like a tree, we should practice forbearance. Saishnuta. It's also called titiksha. Titiksha means forbearance. A devotee must practice forbearance. First humility, then forbearance. Third thing a devotee should do is amanina manadena, the same thing that Sri Krishna mentioned in this verse, 13th verse. Amanina means not claiming respect for oneself. Instead, manada, that means one who gives. You have to give respect to everybody else. We should show respect to everybody, not claim respect for others, from others for ourselves. That is amanitvam. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sada harihi. Always a devotee should praise the glories of God, chant his name, his glories, being very humble, practicing forbearance, not claiming honor for oneself, but showing respect to everybody. So this is first quality. So in verse number 7 and until verse number 11, in 13th chapter, many qualities, virtues are described, so that we should all practice at least some of these virtues. Then only we can say we are doing spiritual life seriously. Otherwise, simply reading some book and doing studying will not be enough. Practicing what we do is more important. So these things are things. This is the important part of Gita. See, as I said before, Gita has two kinds of knowledge: Adhyatma Vidya, Yoga Shastra. Adhyatma Vidya means the philosophy part. What is Atman and what are its qualities? I am Brahman. All those philosophy is important. But more important is the practice. Practical instructions Sri Krishna gives in many chapters. Do this, do this, do this. The list, these are the important part. These are the ones we have to really practice in our daily life. Unless you practice these things in our daily life, simply reading something will not be helpful. So this is the important part of 13th chapter, verse 7 to 11. We shall study them in some detail in the next succeeding classes. So first virtue is amanitvam, humility. Amanitvam adambhitvam, ahimsa kshamtirarjavam, acharyopasanam, worshipping the teacher. Shaucham, purity. Stairyam atmavinigraha, steadiness and self-control. All this we'll study in detail. Now let me stop here. If there are any questions, you can raise them now.
Pranam Swamiji, this is Indranil.
Indranil, what is the question?
Okay, in the second verse, it is a Kshetragya. The meaning is knower of the field, also the indwelling of the field, or indwelling spirit in the field. Both are true, right? Okay, thank you.
First is Kshetra, the field, that means all the bodies. Second is Kshetrajna, the indwelling spirit in all the bodies. Bodies are many, all separate from each other. Indwelling spirit is one and the same in all.
In the book I found it is the knower of the field. It is translated that way.
The knower of the field is Kshetrajna.
Yeah.
That is some translators will be different translations are there in English, but Kshetrajna is one who is aware, the awareness, consciousness within us. That means all of us are made up of two parts. A physical material part called Kshetra, which changes, comes and goes, material. A spiritual part which remains constant, which is same in all. So we are the spiritual part, not the body part, body physical part.
Got it. Thank you.
Anything else? Ulka,
Swami, this is Usha.
Usha Dev.
You talk about humility, and Sri Ramakrishna will do that. I mean, he will not look for special attention. But some other orders I have seen, when their gurus come to visit or something like that, people have special dishes, all silver dishes and, special asana and all that. So even guru can be very humble, but it's devotees. They want to give that kind of attention, to their guru.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that is also the other side of that.
Yeah, it is a compromise. Devotees want to make a special asana for the guru to show love and respect, which is their dharma. They have to do that one. And guru should be humble and not accept any special. So that is a little bit in between.
Yes, yeah. Sri Ramakrishna will do it. He said, no, I don't need it. But some gurus are really more, like, okay, if you want to do it, it's all right. So I think both ways, you say, is
Not too much.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to somebody's house in some other place, not here. And they showed me their house. I went there for the first time. And their one room was locked. They unlocked the room and showed it to me. It was all very nicely arranged room, furnished everything. Then they said, this room is for the Swamiji who visits us every year from India. This was not in India. They said, when Swami comes every year to our home, he stays with us. This is his room. Nobody else is allowed to stay there. And the room was very nicely for nice bed and everything. And there was silver plate and silver spoon, silverware, everything, all silk, everything. Then they said, only when he comes, you open the door in this room, and for all the silver plate, everything only for him. Nobody else can use it. Like this, they made a big, elaborate, separate arrangement. That is, they were showing respect to the guru. But I felt uncomfortable. I said, ordinary paper plate, China plate is okay with me like that. Both ways. Devotees want to show respect, but the guru should not take it to the head. Should not think, oh, because they're showing respect, I'm really great. We should not think like that. Humility.
Thank you, Swami.
Swamiji, while practicing this, the humility, we should assume one bhav is what it is, that either the child of the child, or either a child or a servant.
Yeah, that helps. I'm only a child of God. People may think I'm a great man, but I know I'm my limitations. I'm just like everybody else, nothing special. Like that, we should think. I'm a servant of God, I'm a child of God, I'm a devotee of God, like all of you are. And I think, personally, when I see some devotee, they do pranam to me, I tell them not to do pranam at people. I think of all of the people who come to the center here and all the classes, they're all children of the Holy Mother. I am also a child of the Holy Mother. What's the difference? We are all children of the Holy Mother. Holy Mother said, everybody is my child, no one is a stranger. So we are all children of the Holy Mother. So that is how we should think of each other as children of the Mother. That way, nothing special, nothing better or higher. No, the spelling is not good.
So then, Swamiji, when somebody praises someone, then how do you respond? What do we think?
Praising is should not take it to our head. They say out of
your head.
Yeah, but what is
we should not really believe that what they are praising. If they say, oh, Swami, you're a great Swami, then I should not think of a great Swami. I know my limitations. We should not think of it as true. If they're doing it out of love and respect, it's also not. We should not let it get to our head.
So we should just offer it to God?
Yeah. Margaret, how are you?
Swamiji, namaskar, pranam. I was wondering that I've come across people, and I'm sure everyone else also, is the pseudo humility. They pretend to be that way, But then
Humble.
I also think that humility, just like the ego, doesn't have to be pseudo, above your head or bury your humility. We do need it occasionally to express, not boastfully, but pseudo humility. People express it,
No,
but
that's not right.
that's not, we don't feel it. So could you
Humility
elaborate on that?
Humility can also cause pride. I'm such a humble person. Like this, one can show humility as a virtue. That also can be a cause of pride, false humility. I'm such a humble person. Like this one, if I say that means that is one is proud of his humility. There's also pride in disguise. I
Right,
should not.
right. So
Yes,
how do you
Swami.
distinguish that, Swamiji? How do you distinguish
That's for the
between that?
person. Each person should be honest. People
Mm.
pride. So many say it is normal for people to say good things about others.
Right.
So when you see somebody, you point out the good things in them. You don't criticize them for the defects they have. But the listener should not take it to the head and say, I'm aware of my limitations. So they are saying these nice things to be nice to me, but I know where I stand, my real limitations. I'm aware of that. Like that, we should not take it that as real and become proud that I'm such a great man. They are praising me like.
Yeah, I understand that. Also, the other thing they keep repeating is that I didn't do anything. I'm just an instrument of God, and sometimes I wonder, is that really authentic or just saying it? I don't. It doesn't feel very comfortable in my skin when I keep hearing that.
Not,
Oh, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I'm just an instrument of God. Humility, too much humility, or just how do
not
you?
good. It's not good because to say I'm an instrument of God, it requires very high degree of devotion. Otherwise, we have the feeling of being the doer. Kartritva is there. Then we should not say I'm the instrument. That's for very people of advanced awareness where they really feel they are the instruments. And we have body consciousness. We know that we are the doer. So I should say I did it by the help of God. Something like that we should modify. But only truly great devotees can say, like Sri Ramakrishna, I'm only an instrument. Ami jantro tumi jantri, like that one, sing that song. Chokalite Maricha. So we are doers, but we should be humble and not claim that I'm not the doer, because we have the notion of being the doer. That's for jnanis and devotees.
So I think I understand that, and I will implement that and never say that. But those who are saying it, I guess just leave it up to them to come to that conclusion, I guess, right? We don't need to let them know, oh, you're not an instrument or anything.
No need to say anything.
Right.
Best thing is not to say anything.
So,
Okay.
Swamiji,
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Very good.
Swamiji, I remember one incident regarding Raman Maharshi, his humility. He was sitting on his asana, and all the devotees sitting in front of him on the floor, and the sun was shining through the window, the rays coming through the window. And one of the disciples stood up and closed the curtain. And Raman Maharshi said, "Why have you done this? Am I a kind of a different person than all you are? You know, the Atman is the same on all of us. And why have you discriminate this? You know, that's a good humility."
Same as everybody, no special treatment.
Right.
That I'm a greater person, I should be treated differently, should not be that. Like everybody else.
Right.
Very nice.
One quick question. So in real life, how do we do it? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Ramakrishna, and how do you really behave when you have to mingle and you have to talk to the people that you are reporting to you or working with you. What should be the way to do it?
Just be realistic. In a work situation,
Authentic. Mhm.
in work situation, if you have done some work, you should say I've done this work. There, if you say I'm not the doer, then it will be work against you in a really work situation. You have to be realistic, be practical.
Otherwise, they won't pay your salary.
Yeah, otherwise,
Right.
somebody else will snatch the credit for the work you did if you say you didn't do it. So be realistic and just say exactly what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
Here, if you say I'm not the doer,
right.
all those things that won't work in a corporate or government or such a work situation, it won't work. They have to be realistic, practical.
But the other situation is when you are the supervisor, right? Then you are, controlling, or you have to kind of give them some kind of instructions. And what is the best way to do that? Because at the same
You give
time,
the instructions. Give the instructions and delegate, and you have to do. That's your duty. Or you have accepted, and you have to do that
Right.
work. Yeah. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from diseases and other problems. May all realize and practice what is noble and auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Ajatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Devika Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all. All of you stay well, and God willing, see you next week.
Thank you.